going to be on the Tracer for Hollywood Hammers, and Toronto eSports will put Onigod on it. And Jaru, why not? He's just going to play the Pharah.
The cool thing for me here is sort of building the legend of Jaru, where we've seen him on multiple heroes now throughout the course of the day, and not heroes that everyone can always swap to effortlessly. So if he can come out here with a strong Pharah performance, I think that bodes well for Toronto eSports as a whole, but certainly for Jaru in Overwatch.
Well, a lot of this will be on Fisher early on. Wow, the concussion right off the start. God, knocking a Tracer off the map does not happen too often too, and that is 3-4 quick kills now. Wow, that fight was over before it started. I didn't even get my first sentence out.
Well, when you start out by knocking a Tracer off the cliff and you open up the opportunity for the rest of your team to dive deep, it's a good start here for Toronto eSports, to say the least. They're going to take the first point with authority, and Hollywood Hammers already a bit in a hole.
Well, against the combo here,
okay.
No one actually goes off the cliff there. Fisher's job is to just put some pressure on it, because you can't have the Pharah be damage boosted the entire time. You must pressure the Mercy into healing up that Pharah. You must make the Pharah uncomfortable. You can also just whip out the Pharah and take out Cynic early on if you're Fisher, and he does just that.
Well, much better fight here for Hollywood. Oh, no, the Reds comes in from Snow towards the end. Here's a sound barrier, beta 1 combo from Toronto eSports, so it was a good start for Hollywood Hammers, but the finish coming in from Toronto off of the resurrection, able to pull this one right back as Sizzle Nose goes to explore the depths of the koi pond.
Beautiful res there from Snow just to undo all the damage that had been done and get a nice 3-person tempo res there, bring it all the way back. This is such a brutal spot to be in. We saw in the last set as well that just so much damage boosted rockets coming in, able to feather these in, and now as the team rotates through, he's going to launch them through into Mega, and they're actually going to try the bridge yet again. It has not worked out great for them so far.
No, not quite, although the last push was promising. It was a resurrection that really turned it the other way. Fisher, attack visor up this time, looking for targets, but gets bopped away to begin with. Cynic gives up his life to sort of deal with that, but Hammers looking to pile on. Self-destruct not doing much, but the zone out is valuable. Toronto eSports struggling to get too much of anything done here, and as a result, we should be seeing Hammers get their first take of the round.
They were able to take out Snow and Ludi, and that's all of the healing, so all this damage will be permanent. And now that you see that you've got Cynic back in it, it means that it's been a long enough time for him to respawn. Pharah alone on the points, and then I will give Fisher style points for that one. Did not need to use the Helix, but he's showing her that's exactly how rockets go. You may be the rocket queen, but the Helix held sway there.
No doubt about it. And Hammers now able to reestablish just a bit here. Of course, you see a little bit of Christopher's handiwork towards the back. Yeah, Discord and Mercy, the thing that you like to leap on. But next fight here is going to be underway. Jaru, Barrage, well armed and ready. Resurrection in reserve. So Toronto eSports has the tools they need to flip this one right back. And we take a look at Jaru. Bird's eye view here. Barrage at the ready, stalking over the top. The Barrage connects and takes down Tomsy. Snow, Resurrection reserve, should be able to bring up the Fallen here in just a moment. So they'll be able to bring up 2. The tempo res is in, and Toronto eSports in a great position now to flip this right back.
Well, that's what I was talking about. You have to be able to at least pressure out the combination, make them take some damage so that the damage boosted rockets can't be the primers day. And also they let them just come way too far in. You put some entry damage on them and they're probably going to be less likely to take that angle and get the really nice angle for the barrage. This is what Fisher needs to be doing. Of course, easier said than done. It's 1v2 in this fight.
Well, Toronto eSports doubling down here, opening up the early sound barrier. They want to end this now. Onigod taking a swim early on, though, so 5v6 for Toronto eSports as they try and hold on. Hammers working their way in and around. The self-destruct coming in. Not the best position for it, though, perhaps. Still, though, plenty of opportunity for Toronto eSports to hold on here. It is a melee here on the point, and you see Toronto eSports just trying to isolate things out back towards their side, but the self-destruct from Sizzle removes Cynic from the equation, and suddenly Hollywood Hammers, with their backs against the wall in a must-win fight, should be able to flip this back, but they still have a ways to go, Hex.
They will take it back over finally, and the important thing is that how I like about how they're playing is they make sure to not really super commit to the fight until they find and eliminate Snow. But this is the barrage, the angle that they were able to take. No one's even looking at them in the sky, and he gets all that entry.
He gets the entry, but it's worth knowing that he was really neutralized quite a bit by the defensive matrix there. So that was 1 kill from the barrage. It very well could have been 2 to 3 if not for the timely intervention there from Snizzle. That said, Toronto eSports coming right back in. Not a lot of tools to do so, but it's Jaru on the initiation once more. Finds Tomsy early on, and that is certainly going to be helpful here for Toronto eSports. But you see Hollywood Hammers able to bring it right back. It's Nesh on the flank. However, they don't take down Snow. The resurrection comes in, and suddenly Toronto eSports well positioned here to push this back, retake the point, and perhaps win the round off of that.
A very nice res as bringing back 2, and it brings them the advantage in the fight. Now it is all about the cleanup. Note is the one going to town as he will take down the Diva and her mech. All the numbers in favor of Toronto eSports as they come in. Jaro's even got his sprints on. They're going to desperation time. Look at this. They pop a visor and get 2 real quick off of Fisher's attack visor.
Fisher coming in off the flank, absolutely no one on him right now. The field is his oyster as he is able to lay in the damage of Soldier. Finally, they realize Fisher is there. They get onto him, but still very close between both teams. Now whoever wins this fight wins the round, and Hollywood Hammers is coming back in force in what has been a very prolonged fight here.
This has been going on for a very long time. Snow dying in that fight actually really hurts. He was at 77%, probably could have got a resurrection during that fight as it continues to be scrappy on the point. It has not been completely one-sided, which is why they're able to bring it back. Cynic takes out Tomsy.
We have the Sombra in here. Shaz is down in on the Sombra. Why not? Late stage delay, able to come back into the fight, even find Snow, assassinate Snow in fact.
At 98% no less. And granted, the bodies were all staggered out, but he could have brought a couple back.
That was a nice pickoff by a late Sombra switch, so why not?
Well, the Sombra switch happens because she's one of the only heroes who is faster than normal. When you're invisible, you're faster. I don't know how those physics work, but I don't really know how basic math works, so how can I pretend to understand physics? But that's why you see supports even later on in fights like that switch to the Sombra. You get to the point a little quicker, and of course translocate. Anything with mobility is good in those kind of fights.
Alrighty, so Hollywood Hammers striking first here at Lijiang, looking to take this map, even up the series, and increase the odds that they can get a better seed heading into the group stages later on this month.
Well, it is going to be Control Center, and this is a good map for Genjis and Tracers alike, so we're going to have one on both sides. Both teams running, I believe, nearly identical compositions. Very divey, very flanky. A lot of this is just going to come down to some pure mechanics for these opening fights.
I'm bullish on Jaro coming in here. Given what we saw from him on Lijiang earlier in the day, he was doing great on just basic Genji mechanics, dash resets, pressing the back line. And we see Onigod right now as one part of that flanking offense from Toronto. Both teams taking some of their time here, but it's Jaro who strikes first yet again. It's a nice opening here from Jaro. He's going to dive in and effectively picks up 2 with his contribution onto that Winston. So Jaro going off with Onigod, the flanking DPS of Toronto eSports, striking blood here to open things up on Lijiang.
Yeah, Fisher just found himself a little bit out in no man's land, and then Jaro was just waiting at him, licking his, I guess, metal lips. That's how you get rust, I suppose, but just waiting for that deflect to wear off, dash through, gets the shurikens, and Jaro is a man that they have to stop right now. I'm not sure exactly what the answer has to be. Maybe you just completely, every time you see him, discord and send the Winston after him and hope it works.
Onigod right now on the ambush, drops the pulse bomb, does not connect, wasn't super close to connecting at that. They lose up from the Zen and Toronto eSports, they double down, even with 5 people. They use the sound barrier, and here's the Dragon Blade to the back, but not going to get a whole lot due to that transcendence, and Jaro ends up taking a dirt nap, courtesy of his counterpart in Fisher.
Yeah, the double down there after the missed pulse bomb was really interesting. As you mentioned, that pulse bomb, I think it's fine to throw it in an area there because these close corridors, sometimes you can say, happy birthday to the ground at the pulse bomb and get 3 people to walk over it. Not quite the case there, as Hollywood Hammers will take this one back over for the time being. Not a ton to work with for Toronto. They can jump in here with a Transcend, but that's about all they have going for them.
This is a case where Toronto should be happy to come in on a bit of a junk rush, save their ultimates, drain some out from Hammers, because you look at how Hammers is set up here. I think the worst case would be to use Transcendence, not win the fight, and then lose to Fisher's Dragon Blade or otherwise. Like I said, it's an early 5 versus 5 here, so maybe there's a bit of hope. Self-destruct comes in, not going to get much, but it's Fisher with the blade out, has one early on, dashing to the back, and not as flashy as you'd like. Jaro's actually keeping this somewhat even, but Christopher isolating things out, able to deal with that, and Hammers going to hold on.
They got a little bit out of that, though, because they forced out Sound Barrier, which is the most important ultimate to force out in these fights, and not the huge value out of it either. I think Self-Destruct also came down from Snizzlenose, and that is he's not near his ultimate either. So they went in there with the ultimate disadvantage, and they come out the other side of the fight with a small advantage, and they're going to have a huge blade advantage, and they should know that one. Jaro will be the guy to watch in this next fight.
I definitely want to see what Jaro does here in this fight as he moves in. And Hammers right now trying to isolate space. Nesh buys him a lot of room with that early pulse bomb. So already, this is making things problematic for Toronto. I think they just choose a reset.
Yeah. It was time to reset because I think they really wanted to use Transcend in that with the Blade or even with a Primal Rage, something along those lines. But you losing Snow like that with a beautiful Pulse Bomb from Nesh really just ended those plans immediately.
Well, both in terms of progress on the map and just resources available, this should be a fight that Toronto should be able to take here. It would be a huge miscarriage if they weren't able to move in and actually deal with this. So they're going to open up the Transcendence, and Jaru holds on to the Blade in the back. Hasn't used it just yet because of the Transcendence, but now the Transcendence is over and Jaru is in. The Blade is out, but he gets zoned down pretty heavily by the Winston, not able to get what he wants, and Hollywood Hammers able to make this a much more competitive fight than by any reason it should have been. This is tough for Toronto eSports, and despite the advantage, Hollywood Hammers brings it back, and Fisher with the exclamation point at the very end, the Dragon Blade to evict Toronto eSports from this point.
I think the counter Transcend really threw off Jaru. He wasn't sure what he was going to do. I think they wanted the Transcend and then Blade. You run around with your Blade out with the Zoom Yada, able to take down targets, but I don't think they expected Shaz to have his up. He transcended, that threw him off. Jaru got himself in a weird position, ends up chasing the Tracer with a purple balloon on her, gets nothing, and then goes down for it. So target selection an issue, alt economy an issue there for Toronto eSports.
Play here from Fisher towards the very end, and hey, we talked about McCree being a great garbage man in Overwatch, but a Dragon Blade, while a bit of a premium to pay, also very good at finishing out an already won fight.
Yeah, Fisher really showed that there is more than one Genji in this game, and all the praise that we have piled onto Jaru, you could just give it as easily give it to Fisher in that last one. It has been a tale of two Genjis so far on these maps, and Hollywood Hammers up 2-0 on the map, trying to equalize things.
So Hammers 1 round away from achieving that goal. Toronto eSports, they want to have the turnabout happen. It's going to happen now. And you take a look at how they're positioned here. You have Note far in the back. They're taking it a little bit slow. They're not trying to out-engage or out-dive Hammers here just yet. Hammers more than willing to take a more aggressive position here at the point. So Toronto eSports, their hand is going to be forced. They need to come back on here and contest this, despite, however, they were opening things up to begin with. But they're getting flanked on all ends right now. This is problematic to say the least. Hollywood Hammers looking for this on all ends, but Tony got able to bring this back. It's good Tracer play on his end, and though it's on a razor's edge, it's Toronto's eSports that are able to win the fight, snowball it in their favor, and get first control.
It works out really well for them because they have this triple DPS, and that's what you mentioned, attacking from all angles. Here's Jaru on his attack from the backside angle. Through the front door was actually Note, and Oni got all the credit in the kill feed, but Note had done a lot of work softening them up. That's the difference between these compositions right now, is that there's simply more damage from the side of Toronto eSports.
Nash coming in, able to take down Cynic early on in this fight, and it already makes a big momentum difference here. But no, he has a Dragon Blade here in the back, and though Jaru has the Blade, he's going to use it early on, and this is a just bloodbath for Toronto eSports in bringing this one right back, and no, able to save that Tech Visor.
It's making every other DPS's job easier because Jaru's get those dash resets because the kills are being finished by Note in the backline. Didn't have to use the tactical visor, as you mentioned. And yes, these kills are all great from Jaru, but it's because these are softer targets now. The triple DPS has been a nice transition for Toronto eSports. I think last time on the last stage, they realized we're getting people low, not low enough. Let's add in some more bullets.
Once more, Hammers a little bit sluggish on their initiation there. They had a few people up in front before the rest were in position, and that just does not work out in even the slightest. And the problem there is that they lost that fight so severely that Toronto eSports was just able to bank ultimates all throughout there. So not only are they going to have an advantage from 70% to 0, but they have a war chest very much ready to go for the next fight. It's going to be a war between both teams in terms of what they use here.
Cynic setting up for a counter dive if they do come in on that angle, and that's what exactly they initiate with the sound barrier though, so a lot of this damage going to be mitigated early on. Still though, Jaru able to find the tank. Nice pressure in the back line, trying to get the back cap going. They come in though.
They do come in, and we're seeing a little bit on the point here while the rest of the fight is going off to the side. And it's Fisher trying to bring this back for Hollywood Hammers, and still alive. They've been relatively even. Both Genjis still in here at this point. but they're not able to get back on just in time.
It's a desperation thing when you see something like that, because to take your Tracer out of the fight to do pressure like that, it's something we see in Sanctum all the time, and you can tell when teams are doing it because I start making really weird noises because I think it's terrible. And you take that damage out of the fight. Yes, it makes someone come back and deal with it, but it's so rare that you're actually going to get a full back cap there. And even if you did back cap that, say with your Tracer, the rest of your team is very likely dead in a 5v6 up front.
All right, so we do have a pause going on right now. And we're coming back, but so far, this has been an interesting series. Toronto, of course, coming back relatively big in the last round on Night Market after what was a sluggish beginning, but Hammers eSports still one round away from reversing course here.
Well, and it seems like Snizzle, though, specifically on D.Va, feels a lot more comfortable when they've already taken the point. You see him a lot more in the kill feed on that D.Va than some of these other D.Vas who've been playing more Matrix-centric. And that they don't have to play very much of a horizontal fight when they do that. But then again, when you get that triple DPS on the other side, when they get control of the point, they're able to play that horizontal game a lot better. And I mean, Onigod came alive on Tracer even there a little bit.
The way they're trying to deal with the triple DPS simply hasn't worked, which is why you saw that weird play towards the end of trying to put pressure on the point, because they just know what they're doing is not working. They probably should have gone into something where they rotate towards the side and take the point that way. It can be dangerous. But what was happening is they're diving into the back with their tanks, and then all three DPS are either focusing on the tank or then they send the Genji in the back line. Meanwhile, Cynic is counter diving with the Genji, and they're crushing the back line early on. So there's so much damage up front that their dive's not working, and they're getting counter dived on and losing so much.
The synergy that we saw between Sync and Jaro, I mean, again, we sort of alluded to it in the pre-gamers saying, look, this is what Toronto eSports is doing. They were finally able to capitalize on that in that last round on Night Market and sort of get things together and control where they did seem out of sorts in the first two rounds. That said, they are going to have to go back and show that they can win on some of the rounds they lost on. Otherwise, well, this is going to be Hammer's map.
Yeah, and here's the question. Reverse sweep, are we feeling the reverse sweep here?
No. I mean, honestly, I just think Toronto eSports to play better. No, I think it's funny because Toronto beat Liquid, and the synergy that we're seeing between Cynic and Jaro reminds me a little bit of like how well they play when Mezzer and Shatter are on the same page on their dive. It's just everyone's a soft target, and I've been impressed with both of them a great deal.
Well, we're back.
I'm willing to see a reverse sweep. I'm not to cast aspersions here at Hollywood Hammers. I just think that Toronto's been playing really well, and I just feel that now that they've kind of cracked a code a little bit with this triple DPS, which worked, the Hollywood Hammers did not look good on that last stage. They just did not have any answer to the triple DPS, and they need to figure something out.
All right, well, we are back here on the Shrine. Bird's eye view as both teams move in and look at each other once more. And Hollywood Hammers taking a little bit more of the initiative here early on. Cynic gets punished early on that dive, and Jaro's going to be trying to bring this back in the back line himself. And it's actually a quick turnabout here for Toronto eSports. So down to Winston, but not out of this fight here just yet. A lot of fire coming to Jaro, but Orb is on him, keeping up and healthy, and he's going to dive right back in immediately. Reminds Snizzle knows that the mech is actually pretty good for protection as a D.Va.
This is a game for Hollywood Hammers that even the players on Hammers who play Genji are like, I don't think dash resets are fair. Like, that's how many dash resets Jaro's been getting through these. And I really think a lot of it is the addition of this extra damage from Note. He'd been playing the D.Va before, which is fine to, maybe keep some people alive, but it has just worked wonders in being able to finish kills. Counter dives come in from both teams. Winston's on either side of the map.
Well, right down, both teams trying out. Hollywood Hammers coming back in force, and they're keeping more towards their own bridge. Toronto tried to dive into that pretty aggressively and just got pummeled early on. So the dive from Toronto eSports not quite working out as well there, and a little bit of garbage cleaning up towards the very end for Fisher, taking down the Lucio infestation on the top.
That Lucio can be so frustrating. I mean, these pro players don't have a problem with it, but I've literally lost games because of roller skates in Overwatch. And those roller skates are just, I even get tired of the noise they make sometimes when Lucio's stalling out like that. But it was really smart to sit that far back. Let the dive come in and handle it piece by piece rather than trying to counter dive.
Here comes Jaro. He is licking his chops, diving right in, gets one early on, looking for more. Not going to quite get away, though, as Christopher able to take him out, prevent what could have been a very nasty sequence of events there from Jaro.
They'd burn a couple ults to do so, but that is just fine. Toronto eSports going to go for the full reset. Hollywood Hammers will have the map percentage lead by the time the next engagement happens. And it looks like a different kind of Hammers team now. They've made the adjustment they need to. Maybe it's just the stage that they're more comfortable with in these narrow corridors, but they've made the adjustment to the dive and to all of the damage coming out. And it's, I think, largely because they're not running the Genji anymore. They can sit back with this soldier instead.
All right, well, early on here, Fisher just gunning down Ludi. Ludi not quite able to get out of that line of sight early on, and a little bit of a switch up here. Cynic almost getting knocked off, gets right back on. Primal Rage at the ready, and he's going to pop it. We have some Winston sumo wrestling going on right now as he goes for the mid-air bat. Not quite going to get it, but still, the rest of this going reasonably well here for Toronto eSports. However, it's not one fight yet. They double down, drop the sound barrier, and look for more, and Hardwood Hammer is able to be resilient here. Fisher able to dodge away, do a decent amount of damage. So, though Hardwood Hammer is a little bit beaten here, they're not throwing off this point just yet. And remember, if they win this round, they win the map.
They're going to get the reinforcements back in here too, and they're going to have their Zenyatta reinforcement come back in. And Christopher has actually had a really nice game on the Winston. Once they've made these adjustments that they're not necessarily going to counter dive, they're going to stay a little bit closer together as a team, not get so split up into the triple DPS. It's worked out very, very well for them. They're going to have to find something here, close to a blade, but that's about it. Now it's desperation time. Got to start dipping those toes on the point.
Well, they're down one already, so the odds are not looking good. Jaru is damaged, but he has a blade. We'll see if he brings it back. Has to worry about the tack visor on top of it. Fisher laying down the law and does just gun Jaru right down. Sort of showing old precepts we learned in Indiana Jones with something about swords versus guns.
Yeah, that actor actually practiced for months on that sword routine, and then Harrison Ford was feeling sick that day and improv that.
You know what?
You learn movie trivia from me every single day. You know that, CP. Well, we get a mercy play of the game. We'll see how exciting it is if there is a wall involved. There is! That is a hype wall. Comes right around it. 3 back up. That was actually a great resurrection, though, early on in this. And, yeah, Hollywood's still showing some signs of life, though. And I kind of want to take back what I said, because you asked me at the worst time, because they had just gotten beat in a terrible, terrible fashion, but they made the adjustments that they needed to there.
Well, and in your defense, I was actually talking about just the map reverse sweep.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
I just want to say, I didn't have to tell you all that, okay?
Yeah.
I'm coming clean right now. But no, but it is a reality coming in here for Hammers. They came back a lot stronger than we saw them in that first map. And we're going to be going on to Assault next. But one thing I want to point out is I actually really enjoyed watching the combo. And we saw a little bit of a play there from Snow, but are we going to maybe see that on one of these 2 CP maps? Is that going to come into play? And also maybe looking backwards, let's not look too much forward. Why didn't they play that again?
Oh, why didn't they play the pharmacy combo?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to be working out all right.
It is actually a very solid question, but I think even on that last map when they would have run the combo on the pond, Fisher had been playing a pretty good 76, and you can see the good 76 is he was getting kills from a mile away, and they were red arrows, which denote headshots, and he got a Lucio from a while away, and I think actually he was one of the big reasons why Jaru struggled a little bit. People don't necessarily think of a 76 or even a McCree as like the hard counter to Genji, but if you do a little bit of damage, they have to go back, and it just screws up all of their rhythm and timing.
Yeah, and I mean, what we saw there from the side of Fisher there is that you looked at how Jaru was going